I believe that when you truly know yourself, you win. Welcome to On the Daily, the podcast where we dive real deep into human design, astrology, and your subconscious mind, all with the intention of you building your idea of a big delusional life and an even more delusional business. My name is Danielle McCleary, and I am a master human design and astrology teacher, somatic coach, business mentor, public speaker, and seven-figure entrepreneur. My biggest gift is the ability to see beneath the surface, and I think too many people look outside of themselves for who they should be and what they should be doing. Around here, that is unacceptable. Around here, we break the matrix and really remember who the heck we are underneath all the programming. This podcast will give you all of the tools, mindset, and practical application you'll need to be everything you came here to be in the shiniest way possible. Are you with me? Let's freaking go. Hello, On the Daily family. Welcome back to the show. This is another Q&A. You ask, I answer. I got a lot of questions about, I do this a lot. So if you're just hearing this and you're like, I want a question answered, you need to be following me on social media, specifically Instagram, and get in my broadcast channel, which is called The Daily Woo. Get in there because I will always, either on stories or in that broadcast channel or both, I will say hey, I'm recording this week and I'm going to do a Q&A episode. If you ever, if you have a question you want me to answer or something you need coaching on, this is your opportunity to get it. And so these questions are a result of that. And we got quite a few, so I'm going to try to get through most of them. But if you ever want a question answered, please make sure that you're following on social media so that you can get your question answered when I do these episodes, once every couple months. Okay, so in this one, we got questions about human design, we got questions about social media, we got questions about business, we got questions about knowing when and where and why and how to put your ideas into the world. So a lot of really good questions that I think even if you didn't ask them, you're going to probably benefit from a lot, especially if you're on a spiritual, creative, or entrepreneurial pursuit. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, first question was, how do you decide what to share on Instagram versus what to keep exclusive for your paid containers? Okay, so the fact that this person is asking me this tells me that we have some authority wounds that we need to clean up. And don't worry, I've got you. Okay, so here's the thing I think a lot of people need to realize. Instagram, TikTok, social media, that is your stage. Okay, it's not your sanctuary. I think that Instagram is a place where you give people a taste, a vibe, maybe a teaser into your brilliance about what it would be to work with you. However, if you're treating it like a full buffet or a place with bottomless refills, then it's not going to work, right? You have to post to attract people and not overfeed the free crowd. Because if you are overfeeding people and they can come to your page and you can tell them something and be like, great, that worked. Thanks so much. Gotta go. That's fine. I mean, I feel like I probably give the most free content, the most valuable free content on my, on this podcast. But I think that there's a difference. I really think that this is a problem that plagues a lot of people, because I've seen a lot of people on social media that they give all of the answers on their Instagram, and then it makes sense why nobody's paying them. But I've also seen it the other way where they're basically giving nothing except for these esoteric, very complicated languaging of what they do, but it's not that clear. And people are kind of just okay, well, this is pretty, but I don't really know what to get here. So I think there needs to be a balance between specificity and value versus, but that can't go so far into giving them everything, right? So I think if you're struggling with what to share versus what do you keep behind a paywall, I really need you to ask yourself this question. Do I believe people will pay me for my expertise? Or am I secretly hoping I can prove my worth for free so that eventually they can see my value? Okay, take a deep breath. I know that was a lot. Let me read that again. Do I believe people will pay me for my expertise, or am I secretly hoping I can prove my worth for free so that they will eventually see my value? Okay? This is a big one. And this doesn't just happen on social media. This very much is a very real thing. So, okay. When I was teaching for SoulCycle, I was an indoor cycling instructor for SoulCycle for 10 years. And there was a moment in the beginning where I believed that I had to sub every single class that was offered to me. I had to be available and accessible 24/7 because the more that I gave, the more valuable people would see me. And if I could go sub that class I lived on the east side of Los Angeles, and I would sub classes on the west side of Los Angeles. Okay. And in my brain, I was like, maybe if I do a good enough job, they'll drive from Santa Monica to Pasadena to take my actual class. Babe, that's not true. If I could go back, if I could take younger Danielle to coffee, like that trend that was just going around, if I could take younger Danielle to coffee, I would be like, baby girl, no one is driving from Santa Monica to Pasadena just to take a fitness class unless they have business out there. That's just not happening. And I'm sorry to whoever told you that they would, but they are not going to do that. I would tell my younger self that so hard. And I would hug her while I told her that, because there was a time when Danielle believed that. Like, Danielle back then believed that the more I gave away my value for free, the more people would find me valuable. And that's just not true. So I'll say the same thing to you. If you're having a hard time figuring out what to keep behind a paywall and what to put out on social media, you need to actually start to believe that people will pay you for your expertise. And usually when I see people struggle with knowing what to post on social media and what to keep behind a paywall, it's usually because there's a wound deep down that tells them nobody's going to pay you for your expertise. Like, no one's actually going to pay you for that. So you might as well give it away for free, and then eventually they'll want more. And that is just not how it works. The more you give away for free, the more they're not going to pay you. Why would I pay for something I can get for free? Hello? Remember, the real issue here is not what you share. It's why you think you have to share as much as you do. Authority and something, being the authority in your work, really does mean that you know that a single Instagram post isn't going to unlock someone's entire transformation, right? But it can make them realize that you're the person who holds the keys. It can do that. But no one Instagram post is going to totally change someone's life. So obsessing over did I give away too much in that post? It's not really worth your time, and it's usually the sign of a deeper issue of not actually believing that people will pay you for your expertise, or not actually trusting your authority in that. So if this is you, and me personally, I give people what they need to know and why they need to know it, but I do not give them the how free. That is my general rule of thumb. And that's not always true. I've done freebies where I'm definitely sharing the how. But for the most part on social media, I am giving the what and the why, what I'm talking about, why it's important and why they need it. But the process of how to do it, that's what they pay me for. That's what people will pay me for. So your new rule of thumb is give people what they want, what they need to know, and why they need to know it, and then sell the how. Okay? This is you share your insights, you share your hot takes, share your bold opinions on social media. But then save your framework, right? Everybody if you are an authority, you have a framework. It is your framework. Save that. Save your strategy. Save your hands-on guidance for your paid spaces. Okay. Instagram and TikTok should make somebody say, like when somebody sees your content, it should make somebody say, holy shit, I need more of this in my life. Not, wow, thanks. Just got everything I need. Have a good day. Bye. Right. So if you're asking the question of what to put on social media versus what to keep behind a paywall, the first thing you need to do is step into your own authority and heal the belief that what you have is not worthy of being paid for. You have to heal that. You have to step into your own value. You have to be really confident about what you have to offer. And you have to understand what the what is and what the why is and what the how is so that you don't give all three away. You give the what, you give the why, you sell the how. Okay. Here's the next question. This person said, I am a human design mentor and I use it when it comes to the work I do with clients. And it's hard for me to create a group program, not describing each gate for the program so everyone can find their own piece that makes sense. Human design is super personalized and makes sense when we do it one-on-one. And when I have a group, I don't feel like I can. So it makes it difficult. Okay. This is not true. I love you. If you're listening to this, I love you. What you said is not true. Yes, human design is super personalized. Absolutely, 100%. But the belief of like, oh, what I do is too personalized for group programs. This is less about human design. This question actually has a lot less to do with human design. It has more to do with your belief that you have to be personally responsible and spoon feeding every single person for their breakthrough. It's giving martyr. You are not the martyr of your clients. You are not responsible for spoon feeding them every single thing. Okay. So if you are a human design mentor, if you're an astrology mentor, I have a group program that certifies people in human design. It's called Break the Matrix. That program comes with a human design certification. Okay. I give a lot. And sure, even in that program, I go as deep as to write down and give all 64 gates and all of the different channels and what they mean and like my own context behind them and my own like opinion of them. I do that in that program. But I have other master classes and I have other programs where I talk about human design a lot. It's a group program, Human Design for Business, that talks about human design, but I don't give every single gate. And like, here's the thing. You gotta trust that your audience, your clients are smart. I think a lot of times when we're stuck in microscope mode or obsessing over every person's individual chart, I think what's actually happening is like we don't feel that our clients are smart. And that's not true. Your clients are very smart. They Your clients are very smart. Your clients can Google things. So if, you give them the context of like, hey, this is what it means. And like, if you want to know more about your specific thing, maybe you do a key in the group program with all 64 gates and you talk about each of the 64 gates and they get that as like a down, like, I don't know, there's so many different ways you can do that. Or you tell them like, based on the gate that you have, it's going to look a little different. So go look up your gate, give people information. And then it's about a group program is about teaching somebody how to fish. It is not fishing for them. Okay. And I think that a lot of times we get stuck in this microscope mode of like, oh my God, like, am I giving them enough? And it's like, people don't join group programs to be handheld through their own chart. Okay. They join because they want to understand themselves in a better way that's applicable, that's digestible, but it's more importantly, it's implementable. They can take what they learn and they can implement it. So I think for you, if you're listening to this and maybe you have a group program and something else that you feel like it's too, like you're only good at one-on-one. The one-to-many model is what's going to make you more money. That is scalable. One-on-one work is not a scalable business. If all you do is offer one-on-one or one to a few, where your time is required, that's not a scalable business. One-to-many, aka a group program, that is a scalable business. So the key to shift from this idea of like hyper customization to like contextualization That's what you got to do. So instead of like, here's every single gate and how it applies to you specifically, think of like an overarching framework. Here's how this looks, and then here's how to apply it. But also here's where you need to go to look deeper into yourself. In a group program, your job's not to read their charts for them. It's to teach them how to read their own. Actually, is to teach them how to do something with that knowledge. Oh my God, but Danielle, if I teach them how to read their own chart, then they're never going to hire me. Wow. It's not true. It's not true. That's going to be the case if you are still trying to spoon feed and offer your own, like trying to believe that you're the only one who can do this for them. It's not true. It's a little bit of a martyr energy, okay? The martyr mentor. Your clients are not stupid, okay? They know how to look things up. If you give them a framework and you give them general things, okay? And again, you can take my Human Design for Business course to see how I do this. You can purchase that course. You can purchase Break the Matrix and see how I do that. You can be specific, but you can also hand the keys to your clients to go look it up for themselves. There is a human design coach out there. Her name is Christina Ng. She literally has every gate, and I talk about her all the time. I don't know her personally, but I'm so grateful for her work because I don't always like break down every single gate for my clients, but I tell them this is where you want to look. Like if I'm talking about how somebody should communicate, like with human design, if I'm talking about how somebody should communicate, I'll say like, okay, you want to look at your Mercury placement. You want to look at like what house and what sign your Mercury placement is in. Then you want to look at the gate that it's on, and you want to see what that gate means and how you can then apply it to the house and the sign that your Mercury placement is in so that you know how to communicate with your audience in a way that's going to like spark virality or like engagement. Okay. I don't give them in that program where I do that. I don't give them the gates. I tell them, go look up that gate, read about it, and then apply it in your own mind. If you still feel like you have to like connect all the dots for your clients, it's why your business is not scaling the way you want it to. Your expertise is an interpretation. It's not regurgitation. So you need to stop thinking that you have to deliver every single insight and start trusting that they can discover some of it on their own. You're here to guide people. You're not here to babysit them. If you want a group program that scales, you need to release the need to be needed. And you also have to get comfortable letting people think for themselves. Because human design is one of the best things you can make a group program on. And the ones who do it well are the ones who are going to see a lot of success in the next coming years, for sure. Okay. Next question. 5-1-MG. I'm a 5-1-MG with a 3420 channel. The projection of others has a chokehold on me and I'm caught in a freeze. SOS. Okay. So I too have a pretty strong projection field. I have a double projection because not only am I a 2 line, but I'm also a Scorpio. I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart, and there's a lot of projection around a Scorpio. There's a lot of projection around a Leo midheaven. I have a Lilith in Leo, so there's a lot of projection there. And then there's a lot of projection that comes from, I'm a 6-2, so my 2 line. So as a 5-1-MG, you have projection coming for your 5 line. And I think it's really important for you to remember as a 5-1. I wrote some notes down about this, so I didn't forget anything. The 5-1, this is the problem of a lot of 5-1s. And this is when a 5-1 is operating at a lower frequency. You're the screen, not the movie. Right? So people aren't actually seeing you. What they're seeing is the version of you that their own expectations or their fears or their projections have created. Okay. So, the 5 line is why this happens. The world constantly expects you to be the hero, constantly expects you to be the savior, the person who can fix things. And then when you don't, this is when the betrayal narratives set in. And I think if you get stuck in this, this is where you need to learn to detach from the projections. And this is actually like a big issue I have with human design and astrology in general, is when people use it as like, oh, I'm a 5 line, guess I'm just going to have projections forever, and I'm just not meant to do what I'm meant to do because, I can't get over these projections. No, it's that as a 5 line, as a 2 line, as a Scorpio, as a Leo, you came here to learn to release projections, to detach from other people's projections. That's your work. That's not your excuse. That's your work. That is the crux of what you came here to learn. So you need to learn to detach from these narratives. The 3420 channel, that channel of charisma, is it's pure, powerful, in the moment energy. Okay. So it's instinctual, it's responsive, it's made for action. But when that 5th line is weighing you down, it puts you into freeze mode. Okay. Because instead of just moving forward, then this is when you get stuck in that like anticipatory judgment or failure or rejection. You get stuck in the anticipatory energy of it. But here's the thing. I feel like somebody told you like, oh, you're a 5-1 with a 3420 and you want to move really fast, but you can't because of projections. Oh, well, what I'm here to tell you is like, no, because you're a 3420 and because you're a 5 line, this tells me that you came here to actually learn to detach from these projections so that you can move forward. And that's your work. So there's no easy way around it. There's only right through it. And it's not going to be comfortable. You're going to let a lot of people down. And I feel like a lot of times when people feel stuck, it's because they're like, oh, I don't want to let people down. I want to find a way around this so I don't actually have to face it. And it's like, no, you have to get used to the fact that you're going to piss people off, that people are going to reject you, that people are going to feel betrayed by you, that they're going to feel, it's like when you start fishing for yourself and you start feeding yourself first, anyone who you've always like fished for before yourself is now going to be like, wait a minute, I'm hungry. And you're going to be like, yeah, babe, sorry, I have to eat first. And they're going to be like, man, no, I'm now hungry. You're mean. Meh. It's that projection field, right? But people's projections were never yours. That's not the truth. That's not your truths. Those are just other people's projections. People are always going to have opinions of what you do. They're always going to try to put their own fears and insecurities onto you. And the thing is, you don't owe anyone an explanation, like ever. You owe no one an explanation about anything. But this is also where you get to use your sacral response. You're a sacral being, you're a manifesting generator. So if you are an MG, your sacral is big. And if you're feeling stuck, it's because you're letting the mental noise take over instead of your sacral response. So instead of spiraling about how other people see you and I don't want to let people down and I don't want to be misunderstood. I love you. Get over it. People are always going to misunderstand a 5 line. They're always going to misunderstand a 2 line, a Scorpio, a Leo. An Aquarius. They're always going to misunderstand you. Always, 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 always. So ask yourself, what do I actually want to do? Answer your sacral that way. And then move, okay? And then make moves. Even if it's small, make moves. Even if it's messy, make moves, right? Put on that song, and I'm too messy. And then I'm too fucking clean. Like put that on and make some moves. Also, your 5 line is meant to work for you, not against you. So if you believe that it's like a burden, your 5 line is a burden, then you're not thinking of it correctly. Then you're not using your human design in the most efficient way. You're not using it as your zone of genius. You're using it as your barricade. The 5-1 is here to lead and solve problems. That's what it's here to do, but only for the right people. And I think a lot of times 5-1s try to save everyone's day. They try to fix everybody. And you're not meant to do that. You need to fix yourself first and then stop bending to the wrong expectations of you. The right people will see your power and then not project their fears onto you. The right people are going to see your power and they're going to be like, damn, I want more of that. Taylor Swift is a 5-1. I like to use her as an example because she's a really good example of this. Think about the amount of projection that falls on her. Not only is she a 5 line, she's also Scorpio. She's a Scorpio rising. She's a Leo midheaven. She's a Sagittarius. Like a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of projections coming to her. She has an Aquarius Venus. Okay. Like, hello. her 5-1 line, people project their scarcity, their fears onto her all the time. The more successful she gets from the sales of her tickets that those people bought, the more they get mad at her for getting more successful. And it's like, babe, did you or did you not buy the ticket? You bought the ticket. You spent the thousands of dollars to go to the Eras Tour. Where did you think those profits were going to go? They were going to go to her. So now that she's a billionaire, you're projecting your internalized shame onto her. That's not her problem. So learning to shut out the world and just keep moving for yourself, that is the way that you move freeze out of your body. Okay. Because your 3420 thrives on movement. The more you move, the more confident you're going to get, the more detached from other people's projections you're going to be. Okay. So as a 5-1, 3420 MG, you need to understand that your power is not in controlling how people see you. That's not your power. Your power is in being so fully in your own energy that the projections bounce off of you instead of you absorbing them and then they keep you locked in a cycle of self-doubt. You got to move, babe. You got to move and you got to detach from needing to be understood. Okay, next question. What are the best mindset practices for a projector? And I'm going to say this with so much love. Your mindset isn't the problem. Your conditioning is, as a projector. I get this question a lot. What are some mindset tips you have for a projector? My tips are you need to deprogram. You need to take my Break the Matrix. I think everybody is going to benefit from Break the Matrix. Projectors and manifestors in my world, my clients who are projectors and manifestors have had the biggest glow ups from that program. The most catastrophic glow ups from that program. Because that program is a deconditioning program. And any projector who thinks they need mindset, they actually need deconditioning. Because as a projector, you're here to wait for the invitation. Okay, you're not here to chase it. You're not here to push it. You're not here to grind. But guess what society loves? It loves the chasing. It loves the pushing. It loves the grinding. So your biggest mindset work is not about thinking better thoughts. It's really about unlearning all of the bullshit that tells you that you're only valuable when you're doing the most. That's the biggest thing you need to learn. And that is a deconditioning process that needs to be done both cerebrally and somatically. That is not something you can think your way to. That is something you have to actually move through your body using somatic work, because somatic work takes that stuck, stagnant, patterned program energy and transmutes it into something else. Okay? Because your value comes from your insight, not your hustle as a projector. Okay? And if they don't see you, they're not meant to. And this is a problem, is projectors think that they have to go out and force everybody to see them and everybody to recognize them. You're deeply programmed for success, and recognition for your genius is a huge part of who you are, projectors. But if you are chasing that, you are always going to be miserable and you're always going to be in this conditioned space. As a projector, you need to decondition all the parts of your brain that say you are only worthy when you are doing the most, when you are working hard, when you are overachieving. If you can do that, you win. And I have clients like this. They'll come into my business program. They'll come into Scale to 6 and they'll be like, I just need business strategy, because they think they need mindset. But what you actually need is to decondition yourself. That is what you need. You need to decondition yourself. And that is why you actually need my program, Break the Matrix. Because until you do that, no business strategy, no mindset is going to help you, because you are still holding these patterns of not enoughness, of unworthiness, of feeling like you need to do more. You are holding that in your body. And when you hold that in your body and you're not releasing it somatically through things like movement, dance, yoga, breathwork, meditation, EFT, what else? I think I just listed most of them. Through one of those modalities, then you're holding it in your body, and that will continue to drive the car. So decondition. Take my program, Break the Matrix. It will help you so much. Okay, next question. is I feel like I have all of the knowledge and the awareness, but struggle with implementation and applying awareness. Do you have any tips? Yes, I do. This is called intellectual hoarding mode. You are an intellectual hoarder. You have all of the knowledge, but you're struggling with implementing it. And this is very similar to like buying a gym membership, reading every fitness book, and then wondering why you don't have abs, but you've actually never gone to the gym. Okay. Awareness is it's a really cute quality. And I think it's half the battle. The first step in any big transformative change we see is awareness. But if you don't actually do something with it, then it's just mental clutter. Okay. I think that this is an addiction, actually. It's an addiction to learning because the more you learn, the more productive you feel. And this is usually the case of firstborn daughters. This is usually the case of people who are very smart in school. This is pretty typical of people who were like valedictorians or, were in the GATE program, the gifted program, whatever they called it, GATE, gifted, GT, whatever your school called it. If you were in one of those programs, you were always praised for being really smart. So then you kind of got addicted to learning. You got addicted to knowledge. So you're reading a lot, you're listening to a lot of podcasts, you're taking a lot of courses, you're deepening your understanding of things. And that feels like growth. But true transformation doesn't actually happen in your head. It happens in your actions. And I think that a lot of times when people get stuck in the knowing versus the embodying, so this happened to me, I'll tell you a little personal story. This happened to me after my dad died. I have been studying like spiritual growth and the nervous system and, psychology and somatic work, yoga. I've been involved in these things for at least 2 decades, okay, in some way or another. So I knew a lot. I knew how to heal from grief. I had worked with people and helped them through grief. I knew a lot. When my dad died, I was like, I got this. I'm going to heal. It's fine. I got this. I'm going to do my things. I'm going to practice use my tools. Okay. But the problem was I wasn't actually physically doing it. I knew about breath work and I knew about somatic work and I knew about the subconscious process, but I wasn't actually doing it. And it wasn't until about a year after my dad died that I finally did it. And it rocked me. It ruined me in so many ways. But it was because my nervous system didn't feel good with change, because my nervous system very much felt that if I actually physically took action, that I would maybe forget my dad or it would be real, right? And your nervous system doesn't love change. What I mean by this is like if you know what to do, but then you don't do it, there's a fear of failure. There's a fear of rejection. There's a fear of success. Like for me, it was like, if I succeed at this, then do I forget my dad? I don't want to forget my dad. I don't want it to be real. I don't want to be okay with him not being here anymore. And that's what keeps you from pulling the trigger. And so it's not a discipline problem. You have discipline. You're a lifelong learner. It's a nervous system regulation problem. You need to decondition your fear of rejection, your fear of failure, your fear of success. Again, break the matrix. All of these questions will be solved if you take Break the Matrix. Like every single one of these questions you're asking is literally discussed ad nauseum inside of Break the Matrix, and not just discussed from a cerebral perspective, but it teaches you the somatic work and it draws the bridge for you for the somatic work, because it's also not like it's like you need both, right? You need to understand the deconditioning process and nervous system regulation on a cerebral level so that you know how to apply it somatically. If you only know one and not the other, it's like if somebody just goes to yoga all the time, but they've never studied nervous system regulation, then the yoga can't actually do what it's meant to do. Whereas same if with this question, if all you do is read the books about nervous system regulation, and even maybe you've read about somatic work, but you've never actually physically done the deconditioning process, then you're keeping yourself from it. So stop looking for more information, actually. The next thing you invest in should be something like Break the Matrix that teaches you physically how to do this. It takes you out of cerebral and into somatic. you need to pause your input and you need to start the output is essentially what you need to do. You need to pick something and get into action. Just do it, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And it's like if you're a generator, this can come down to like responding to something that feels really good to take action on. If you're a projector, maybe you rest and you observe and then you make moves, right? If it's a trust in yourself issue, the way you build trust with yourself is by taking one move after the other. If you're stuck in your head, you have to get into your body. This is where like some of this like somatic work can really help you. And then you have to track your tiny wins, but you can't just buy the gym membership and read all the books about fitness and like buy all the healthy food, but then not actually eat it or go to the gym. You have to actually take action and you have to decondition the belief that failure and rejection and success is unsafe in your body, that change is unsafe. You have to do that, and you do that through action. Okay, next question. How do you best dial into your most truthful values? Like genuinely figure out what they are and put names to them. I inherently know and feel right and wrong when it comes up in the moment, but I don't have an overarching guide by which I make decisions. Okay, so to me, this says that you're morally intuitive, but like structurally lost. That's what this tells me. So, knowing right and wrong in the moment is great, but like without an overarching framework, you're basically playing emotional, like, what's that game? It's like at an arcade and you have like a hammer. Whack-a-mole. You're playing like emotional whack-a-mole with your decisions, and that doesn't feel good. So you need a guiding compass, not just gut checks on a case-by-case basis. Like, oh, does this feel good in the moment? Okay, go. Okay, so this is where I get this a lot. So people will say like, I have a hard time pinpointing my like actual values, like knowing my true north, my north compass. So a couple things. Number one, I recommend getting a really detailed human design and astrology reading. I obviously do these. I also know people who do them for a lot less money than me. I am not the most affordable option, but I do feel I'm one of the best options. However, I understand that budget is a thing. I've also trained a lot of people in this. So because I offer a human design certification, I have a lot of clients who I recommend that do have more affordable pricing. If you ever want a reading, and you can't afford my prices, slide into my DMs. I can send you someone who could work for you. But okay, so I say get a reading first. Second, okay, a lot of people will say like, I don't know what my truth north is. You got to figure out what your values are. And the way that you figure out what your values are is by checking off what your values are not. So sometimes it's like reverse engineering to get to your value system so that every decision you make, every opportunity you're given can be filtered through your true values system. So for me, my biggest priorities in life are peace and freedom for me and my family. Every decision I make, every single opportunity I have is filtered through that lens. And the questions I ask myself with every single opportunity and every single thing is, does this opportunity bring me closer or farther away from peace and freedom for me and my family? If the answer is farther away, the answer is no. It does not matter if in the moment this feels like a good idea. Here's an example of this, okay? I used to be a soul cycle instructor. I said this already. I used to be a soul cycle instructor, taught for 10 years. There are moments where I miss group fitness. I miss teaching. I miss being in a class. I miss being with people. Okay. So I'll have these moments, these little opportunities that'll come up where a studio will reach out to me, Soul Cycle will reach out to me. Somebody will reach out because like when you've taught fitness and you were good at it, people want you to teach for their studio. So I'll get these little pings where somebody will be like, hey, have you ever thought about teaching here? Because I like going to take class. I take Rumble. I take yoga. I take boxing. Or Rumble is boxing. I take Soul Cycle. I do a lot of fitness classes and I'm good at them. And so when I'm in class, the instructor will be like, have you ever thought about teaching here? The moment, my gut is like, ooh, yes, let's do it. That'll be so fun. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. But if I filter that through the lens of, does this in the long run bring me farther or closer or farther away from peace and freedom for me and my family? Well, I guess, closer in the sense that I'll be making, it's a stream of income, but the money that you make as a fitness instructor is not close to what I make as a coach and a mentor. So I guess in the moment, maybe more, but actually long term farther away. And then freedom wise, if I'm beholden to somebody else's schedule or when somebody wants me to teach, then I'm not free to do what I want for me and my family. So that's farther away. So even if at the moment this sounds really fun, I know long term this is not serving my higher value system. So the answer is no. And I'm able to go, okay, even though in the moment it feels really good, what's going to feel even better, what I actually miss is the sense of community that I create inside of those rooms, is like getting to network with people, getting to like feel the adrenaline of like teaching and getting that feedback. Okay, well, where else can I do that actually would be bringing me closer to peace and freedom for me and my family? Well, I could host retreats. I could offer group programs where people come together. I could offer things where there are retreats involved where I can bring people together. That sounds good because there's a higher ticket for that. Plus, like, it's not all the time. It's when I schedule it. It's on my time. That brings me closer to peace and freedom for me and my family. Okay. So that's what I recommend doing, is figuring out your value system. What is the highest priority for you? And it might be peace and freedom for you and your family. That's not like, it's not super specific. It's pretty generic. Anyone can use it. You can borrow it if you want. If that does not land and feel authentic, what about going, okay, I don't know necessarily what I want, what my values are long term, but I know what I don't want. Here's what I don't want. What I don't want is somebody talking down to me. What I don't want is to be on someone else's schedule. What I don't want is to get paid less than what I'm worth. Okay, great. So what's the opposite of the opposite of getting paid less than you're worth is being valued for your time and energy. So a high priority for you is being valued for your time and energy. Great. That's what you value long term. Now, everything you do can be filtered through the lens of, does this bring me closer or farther away from being valued for my time and energy? Okay. I don't want to work in an office. Great. What's the opposite of that? Working from wherever you want. Okay. So my priorities are is location freedom. That's my priority. So now anything you get offered, any opportunity you have can be, does this bring me closer or farther away to location freedom? Right? Makes it easy. Just reverse engineer. Most people who don't know what they want, they definitely know what they don't want. So if you know what you don't want, then the opposite of that is your priorities. So I hope this helps. Okay. Another one. How do I uncover my own spiritual gifts? I get this question a lot. How do I find my own spiritual gifts? How do I tap into them? How do I turn them on? How do I get them online? This is literally like people just wondering if they're secretly clairvoyant, if they can like see ghosts, if they, are this like master energy healer that's like hiding beneath the surfaces, or maybe they're just like really good at like predicting the future. Okay. I love that for people. I love that people are wondering that. I think a lot more people are than they realize. But here's the thing you need to understand, that spiritual gifts, it's not always about seeing ghosts or channeling alien languages or light language or whatever, okay? Some people's gifts show up in things like their creativity, in their intuition, in their intelligence, or their emotional intelligence, in their storytelling, or even just like knowing, there are people that just know what to say at the right time. They always know what to say at the right time. Okay. And so I think that it's about turning on your gifts is really leaning into your gifts and letting your own gifts come online, and then letting the spiritual aspect of those gifts shine through. So I think a lot of people are waiting for some like awakening where all of a sudden they just like wake up and see dead people. It's not really how it works. Could be. I mean, some people have that. They have an initiation, something dramatic that happens to them. Like I know after losing my dad, that was a huge catalyst for me. I went through I'm still going through that intense period of grief. And from that, my claircognizance and my clairvoyance has turned online. But it wasn't something that I like sat in a dark room and was like, do I see dead people? It was more of like, I just started to feel things and know things, and my dreams got more lucid, and I started to pay more attention to my dreams. Like I started to write my dreams down more and like really find the patterns in my dreams. And then I realized like, oh, these aren't dreams. Like this is actually me like channeling things. Or like when I'm talking to somebody, if I'm on with a client and I have this like feeling or this like question I want to ask them, I ask the right question and then it like opens up something bigger. This is how I turned my gifts on. So I would say stop waiting for some dramatic awakening. Okay. And then start paying attention to, I don't know, start paying attention to like what always already feels second nature to you. Like, are you just really good at telling stories? Then do more of that. Yeah, pay attention to what comes effortlessly because like, are you a friend that people always come to for clarity? Well, that's a spiritual gift. Do you get like, do you get like weirdly accurate intuitive hits about people or situations? Like, are you the friend that can be like, no, we don't need to go to that party because, or no, we don't need to go to that thing or yeah, you need to take advantage of that opportunity. Are you that friend? Because that's a spiritual gift. What's another one? Can you feel, I have this. This is like a claircognizance. Can you feel what people aren't saying just by being in the room? Like, you know what everyone's thinking, regardless if they're opening their mouth. That's a gift. Okay. The problem is not that you don't have spiritual gifts. It's that you're undervaluing them because they feel too easy. But that's the thing. That is a gift. If it's a gift, it's not something that you have to work very hard for. So this could be, you could start experimenting with this. I would say treat it as a game though, not like a test. Because a lot of people will treat this as like a test. And your gifts, like I know your gifts mine at least, have revealed themselves through play, not pressure. So like, oh my gosh, like my mom was a medium, so I have to be a medium. Not necessarily. And you're not going to get there through like the pressure of that. You're going to get there through play. And then I would say track your patterns. Okay. So gifts aren't random. Spiritual gifts, they're not random. They show up in patterns. So what topics can you talk about all the time? Right? Aliens. I've always loved talking about aliens. I've always loved talking about like spiritual beings. Like I love watching movies like The Sixth Sense. Love stuff like that. I've never been afraid of ghosts. Pattern. That's pattern recognition. Okay. What do you feel the most connected to when do you feel the most connected to something bigger? Like when does that happen for you? Is it when you're in a group of people? Is it when you're alone? Is it when you're meditating? Is it when you're sleeping? When do you feel the most connected to something bigger? Track that pattern. What else? I mean, what do people thank you for? What do people come to you for over and over and over again? And they're like, thank you so much. Or, oh my gosh, you're so good at this. And like, you don't necessarily see it as special or unique, but like everybody notices it in you. That's a pattern. Pay attention. There's a gift in there somewhere. And then you have to practice strengthening the muscle. Okay. So this isn't just something that you have all of a sudden. It's something that you have to develop. And it's often these gifts are like my ability to walk into a room and like know what everyone's thinking before they open their mouth. That is something that society says is not okay. Right. Society tells you to like, take people at face value. I don't do that because I can feel people's energy, but I used to just like take it on. I used to absorb other people's energy as my own instead of just being like, oh, I feel your energy, but I don't have to take that on. Right. It was different. So for me to turn on my gifts of claircognizance and clairvoyance, I had to start trusting those gifts instead of trying to like silence them or pretend that they weren't that big of a deal. Because that's how they get stronger. Spirit speaks when I wrote this down. Spirit speaks when it knows that you're actually listening. When it's a God shot, it doesn't miss. So if you can handle it, your gift will come online. But if you can't, you won't get it. So treat it like play, like a game, not like a test. And don't just wait for some big, massive awakening to happen. They're probably already happening and they feel really easy and obvious to you. So you're like, that's not a gift. Those are exactly your gifts. Okay. Last question. I think this is a long episode, so let's do one more. Where do I start when I have a few ideas I want to put out into the world? This is like, this person has to be a manifesting generator, because this is like a multi-passionate chaos spiral if I've ever seen one. When somebody has so many ideas, instead of just picking one, they just sit there thinking about them. It's the jack of all trades is the master of none, right? So, step one is to realize that you're never going to be 100% ready. Like, it's never going to feel perfect. And the more you try to get it to feel perfect, the farther away from clarity you're going to be. Step two would be to pick the one that has the most energy behind it. So I would say, ask yourself, which ideas are exciting me the most right now in this moment? Or which idea do I keep thinking about even when I try to ignore it? So it's like you're brushing your teeth and you're thinking about it. You're eating dinner and you're thinking about it. You're at the movies and you're thinking about it. Like, what's the one that you think you're thinking about the most? And then which one feels like it has the most ease in execution? Like one that you're not going to have to work that hard to create. Because that would say, trust your sacral. This person has to be a generator and MG. If you have a sacral authority, trust your sacral, okay? Or just your own authority. Like, this is where you have to trust your intuition. And then give it a 30-day test run. So instead of like committing your entire existence to one idea, just test it. Give yourself 30 days to take action on it, whether those be big actions or small actions. Just take 30 days. See what happens, right? If it flows, great, keep going, yay. If it flops, then pivot. But you're moving, right? I think a lot of times people don't want to take action on one because they're like, oh, well, what if I do that and it doesn't work? Well, guess what? That's still movement. And if you go in one direction and it doesn't work, well, that's one way not to do it. Good example of this is like my first podcast producer, Chase, we had this idea that we were going to start this company together, a podcast network called Hype You Media. We started it. We went all in on it. We invested a lot of money into that. We built a platform. We were going to have this whole coaching program out of it. It flopped, like flopped. Now, and it would be so easy for me to be like, I wasted so much money on that. No, I didn't. I invested into an option. I moved. I put action. I proved to myself that like money in, money out is a thing. And it didn't work. So we pivoted. But I learned through that process that I actually don't really want to have a podcast network. It's not something I'm excited about. Great. So I moved in another direction. It's not bad. It's just you need to move. Just start moving. Okay? And then and don't make it perfect, because it's not going to be perfect. And I think perfectionism is like the number one killer of execution. Trying to make something perfect or trying to only do it if you know it's going to work. Like if you had an idea and I was like, hey, I think this person that wrote this was Miranda. So Miranda, hey, if you knew with 100% certainty, if you knew with 100% certainty that idea was going to be $1 million idea, would you have already started? Yeah, duh. Well, then why haven't you? Because I don't know if it's going to be $1 million idea. So the only way you're going to do it, the only way something is worth trying is if it's $1 million idea. Well, no. Okay, well then why aren't we moving? Right? It's not about perfection. The simplest, scrappiest, most low pressure way possible. Do it. Okay. So write the post, record the podcast, offer the service. Done is better than perfect to a certain extent. Now, messy action is only good. It's the beauty of being a beginner. Messy action is the beauty of being a beginner. At a certain point, you got to get your shit together, but you're not there yet. So be messy. Just get it going. And then let the feedback guide you. I would say would be the last part of this, not paralyze you. So your audience, your clients, or your own intuition is going to tell you what's landing and what's not. When we started Hype You, it wasn't landing. We weren't really selling anything. We sold a few courses. We sold a few things. We did a few things. But it wasn't landing the way that it should have been if it really was the idea that we were meant to pursue. And I wasn't excited about it. So you adjust as you go, you pivot as needed. And then your feedback, when you get your feedback on something, it's you can't get feedback on something that doesn't exist yet. So you have to put it into motion. You got to get the wheels moving. But either way, stop overthinking it. One foot in front of the other, and stop thinking as like, oh, if I go in one direction and it's wrong, then I made the wrong choice. No, you found out one more way that is not going to work. Okay. that's enough questions for today. I will do another one of these episodes. If you did not get your question answered, make sure you ask it on the next one. But I love you, and I will see you back in our next episode. Bye.